A very good evening, everyone online and everyone in person. Thank you for joining us for this session. As usual, we'll start with taking a few minutes to arrive here in the meditation hall and online in front of our device, leaving our worries outside and coming in the present moment for this session. Just take a moment to, be mindful of the cushion you're sitting on or the chair you're sitting on. Taking a few deep breaths. Deep so that the stomach rises and falls every time we breathe in and out. As we breathe in, we try to refresh our attention, our concentration. And as we breathe out, we try to completely relax. Now, before we get to the topic of today, which is attachment, before we talk about attachment, we will do a short placement meditation of about 5 minutes. A short calm abiding or shamatha meditation for 5 minutes. I'll just very quickly remind of the instructions in case we have newcomers online. I think here everybody is very familiar with those instructions. The first thing we look at is the body posture. The best is to sit on the floor on a cushion. If you're sitting on the chair, it's also perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair, not leaning too much forward either. On the chair, also make sure both of your feet are flat on the floor. If the floor is too low, you could have a cushion under your feet and allowing a little bit of space between your two legs. Sitting on the floor, the ideal is to be sitting in the full lotus posture, meaning both feet on top of the opposite leg. That might be a little bit challenging, so make sure you're not pushing your body. Make sure you're sitting comfortably. You can simply sit cross-legged or even a half lotus, or you can sit the way they sit in Burma, which is one leg in front of the other. All these are perfectly conducive for this meditation. Traditionally, we place our hands in the Dhyan Mudra, so the concentration, Mudra of concentration, with your right hand on top of the left. Two thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests in our lap, allowing some space between the body and the arms. The most important thing is for the body to be upright. You can imagine there is a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your spine straight, but loosely straight, meaning we are not sitting and being stiff, You can easily turn from left to right. Your shoulders are relaxed. The neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine. You can very gently tilt the head forward, not too much, just in the continuation of the spine. You can place your tongue just behind your upper teeth towards the upper palate. This helps reduce the production of saliva while you are meditating. Finally, the eyes, not completely closed, just gently open, slightly opened. Gazing in the space in front of us, about 45 degrees cast down. not actually paying attention to whatever appears in front of our eyes. It is the mental consciousness that meditates. Leaving the eyes slightly open allows for some light to enter. It helps us to keep us alert. So this posture is known as the Buddha Vairochana meditation posture, which has 7 points. And out of the 7, if you were to remember only one, it is for the body to be upright. That is the essential, that is the most important for the body. So that allows for more alertness and for the winds in our body to move freely. So now that we looked at our body, let us look at the mind. What is the activity of this meditation? What are we meditating on? If you're familiar with this kind of practice, single-pointed meditation, shamatha, calm abiding, I would recommend that you stick to the object you're the most familiar with for meditation. And if this is something relatively new for you, what I would suggest is to use the breathing sensation as an object. You can, for example, observe the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. As you breathe in and out, you can observe what kind of sensations are happening. Perhaps as you breathe in, you'll find that, there's like a cooling sensation in that area. As you breathe out, perhaps a little bit of a warmer sensation there. Try to place all your focus on that. Not the body part as such, the entrance of the nostrils, but the sensation that the breathing is giving there. We'll try to remain focused on that object for 5 minutes, but you will see that during those 5 minutes, distraction will come. And the two main ways we tend to get distracted is with mental excitement and mental laxity. Excitement, basically, we are distracted with thoughts. We might start thinking about something that happened today that is still, stuck with us in our mind. We are still ruminating, or we might start thinking about our plans for tonight or for tomorrow or the coming weeks. And therefore, our mind is not focused on our object of meditation. The second way we tend to get distracted, mental laxity or dullness or lethargy, especially if you had a long day at work, and you're coming here, sitting, it's quiet. So we might have a tendency, to fall asleep, the mind sinks, we start daydreaming. And therefore we also lose our object of meditation. So we try to find, the middle way, not to be distracted with thoughts, but also not falling asleep, trying to remain on the object single-pointedly, the meditation object. So the good news is that there are antidotes that we can use, to counteract our distractions. And we are training in using these antidotes more and more so that we become more familiar with the antidotes than with the distractions. So we're kind of, you can see your mind as a wild animal that you are trying to control, with these antidotes. We are trying to tame our mind. So the antidotes are introspection and mindfulness. Introspection, you can imagine it as an agent in the background of your mind that is looking at your mind. What is it doing? Is my mind meditating or is it distracted? And the moment introspection realizes that the mind is not meditating, we make use of the second antidote, mindfulness. Mindfulness, basically its role, we could translate it as non-forgetfulness. Its role is to bring the mind back onto the object of meditation and making sure it doesn't forget the object of meditation again. It remains on the object of meditation. Sorry for those who keep coming every week. I always use the analogy of if you have a pet dog at home, or you can imagine you have a pet dog at home, the dog runs away. Introspection notices the dog is gone. Mindfulness brings the dog back home. It's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind. And we try to make sure the dog remains at home. You can also imagine, tying him against a pillar or something, that it remains there. We are trying to do the same thing with our mind, with introspection and mindfulness. Let us do that for about 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about attachment. You can gently come out of the meditation. Is it your first time here? Or you came before?
I was online.
Oh, I see, I see. Did anybody count in 5 minutes how many times the mind wandered and we had to bring it back?
Lost count.
You lost count. So it actually doesn't matter how many times, no? We could distract it. What matters is that we use the antidotes. The purpose of this practice is to become more and more familiar with the antidotes. And it is good to keep our sessions short, when we begin with meditation. At the beginning of the session, we make a commitment. Okay, today I will meditate 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes or a little bit more. But during those 5 minutes, even though it is a short time, I will make the effort to use the antidotes of introspection and mindfulness. So then if you can do that repeatedly, consistently, the best would be to do every day, of course, a few minutes. Then gradually, we can make progress with the antidotes and our concentration becomes more refined. But if we are too ambitious, we want to sit 1, 2, 3 hours as a beginner, then very soon we will, stop the practice. So short sessions consistently, much better. So today we will talk about attachment. And this is in the context of a series of meditations that we've been doing. I think we had about 7 sessions before this one, if I'm not mistaken. And the last one was 2 weeks ago. We talked about the truth of suffering. Just to give a very quick summary what we talked about in the previous sessions, and then we'll talk about attachment. First session, I think we started at the beginning of the year, perhaps. We started talking about the nature of our mind. We talked about how, just like everything in the universe, our mind, didn't suddenly appear, didn't get created, like any matter you see in the universe. It comes from, something before, and even when that matter disappears, it doesn't completely disappear, right? Everything transforms, in the universe. So similarly with our mind, since beginningless time, that mind has been, existing. And until no end, it will continue to exist. So this is what we saw in the first session. And we saw, that this mind has a tremendous potential for transformation. This mind being not something physical, not something, obstructive. It has limitless potential. And even though at the moment, we have, we could call them disturbing emotions or afflictions, delusions, such as anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, and so on and so forth. These are not inherently part of our mind. These can be purified, they can be removed, eliminated. So that is what we call in Sanskrit the Tathagata Garbha, or the potential of our mind to achieve awakening, to achieve the state that is completely clean, pure. That is what is our mind is in potential. We all have that. Humans, animals, and so forth. We all have the capacity to transform our mind and achieve a state of full awakening, purified from all these disturbing emotions. Then we talked about our present situation. particularly being born as a human being on this planet. In a country such as the countries we all live in that are not at war, those online mostly, I guess, in countries that are not at war, being born as a human with all our senses, physical, mental faculties, everything is there. And we live in a world where the Buddha has appeared 2,500 years ago. The Buddha taught, his teachings are very much still available to this day. There are many followers, many disciples of the Buddha, and many also people who support, the disciples, allowing for such places to exist around the world, Not only that, we are all interested, we all recognize that whatever we experience is not enough. We have at least a little bit of dissatisfaction, otherwise we would not come here, right? We would not be interested in meditation, we would not be interested to look inwards, to look at our minds. So having all these conditions, in technical term, we call this the precious human rebirth. A precious human rebirth has all these freedoms and more, some of them I mentioned. That is something very rare, that is something very difficult to obtain. So at the moment we have that. Then we talked about the inevitability of death, the reality of impermanence and the inevitability of death. Even though now we have this human body with all these incredible freedoms, now we have this great opportunity, inevitably this opportunity will cease. Inevitably we will die. I think all of us in this room, in 100 years from now, none of us, will still be there, will still be around. That is inevitable. There is nothing we can do. We can think of all the celebrities of the past, celebrities of the 19th, 18th, 17th century. None of them is around anymore, right? Not only that, but the time of our death is uncertain. We don't know when we will die. And because there are so many causes for death, it is actually healthy to think that we might die even today, Why is that healthy? Is because then whatever time left we have with all these freedoms, with this incredible opportunity, then we will make a good use of it. We will use that time for something meaningful. And in fact, in the following session, what we saw is that, in our lives, we tend to turn to very worldly things, especially, when we are dissatisfied, when something is happening to us that we don't want to experience. We tend to turn to, some people turn to alcohol, some people turn to food, some people, engage in many different relationships after the other and so forth. We kind of take refuge in such mundane worldly things, But we saw that there is one refuge we can turn to that is actually reliable, because these things, they can very easily deceive us, I mean, alcohol, for example, is not helping in any way, can make things worse, and it's not a valid refuge, So we saw that, particularly in the teachings that the Buddha gave, what we call the Dharma, there is a wisdom that we can ourselves experience that can eliminate gradually all our problems. That wisdom is the wisdom that realizes the actual way things exist. We have the impression that everything exists very solidly, very inherently, very objectively. And what the Buddha found, when he became known, when Prince Siddhartha, he became known as the Buddha, when he became known as the fully awakened one, what he has found is the opposite of this misconception that things are very solidly, inherently existent. He found that things are devoid of such an inherent, intrinsic existence. Now, the wisdom that realizes that is the actual dharma, the actual solution to all our problems. With this wisdom, we can gradually eradicate all our mental defilements, all our disturbing emotions, and so forth. So, all the different kinds of refuges we go for, where things we turn to when things don't go our way are unreliable, but that wisdom we can always turn to, and this is what will actually bring results and will alleviate our suffering over time. So that was a session about refuge, and refuge in that dharma in particular, that wisdom in particular. Of course, broadly speaking, when we talk about taking refuge, going for refuge, we talk about the three jewels that are the Buddha, the dharma that we talked about, and the Sangha, like the community of practitioners. Or strictly speaking, what is the Sangha we are turning to is those beings who have already realized that wisdom directly. We have already seen the absence of objective existence directly from their own experience. That is the Sangha, the actual Sangha jewel, you could say, from the three jewels. Then a few weeks back, we had a session about karma. More specifically, we talked about how, absolutely everything we experience, the good things we experience, the not so good things we experience, the pleasant events that happen to us, as well as the unpleasant, the experiences of misery, or, everything we make the experience of is the result of actions we have accumulated in the past. Today it's a little bit warm, like 33 degrees in Delhi. Now we are here in this meditation hall with the AC. We must have created the causes for that in the past to enjoy, that fresh air coming from that machine there, so that we are not sweating, we are not feeling hot here. That is the result of some good action we have accumulated in the past. Now, similarly, all of a sudden, there might be a power cut, and then the heat comes. That also would be the result of then a negative action we've engaged in the past. So we saw that it's inevitable that any action that is motivated by virtuous thoughts inevitably will bring rise to pleasant experiences. Any action done with non-virtuous intentions will bring about suffering result in the future. Now, there are slight exceptions to that. When we, let's say, we do many good actions, helping others, practicing generosity, and so forth, but then we get angry. Anger is a mind that is so powerful that that basically what it does, apart from leading us to engage in all sorts of destructive actions, while we are angry, we are also destroying the karmic imprints, the positive karmic imprints we have, the virtues we have done in the past. It is said that just one moment of anger has the power to destroy eons of positive karma that was accumulated. So that is why, when we do sessions like these, when we do pujas and so forth, we always at the end dedicate, whatever virtues we have accumulated in that session, we dedicate towards our goal, of achieving awakening. So when we do that, it's a little bit similar to if you have, let's say you have 10,000 rupees on you, and now you go to the market, and with those 10,000, if you run into a thief, he can just take them and run away. But if before that you went to the bank and deposited these 10,000, then that thief in the market would not have anything to take from you, right? So similarly, when we dedicate our virtues properly, it is like saving them towards our goal, and then anger cannot attack those virtues. Similarly, the negative actions we have engaged in the past, such as killing, stealing, telling lies, hurting others, saying harsh words, and so forth. These kind of non-virtuous actions, inevitably they give rise to a result of suffering in the future, but they can be purified. And by engaging in the kind of opposite action, so we have the practice of the 4 opponent powers. The 4 powers opposite to the 4 factors that led us to engage in that negative action. And this is what we do regularly here when we do the Vajrasattva practice, for example. That is in the context of the 4 opponent powers. Then the last session we had 2 weeks ago, we talked about the truth of suffering. Anybody was here from 2 weeks ago? Yes, you were there. Do you remember what we talked about? Different types of suffering, right. Oh yes, very specifically we talked about the 3 types of suffering, the obvious suffering, the suffering of pain, or the suffering of suffering itself. We talked about the suffering of change, and we talked about the all-pervasive compounded suffering. So the first one is very obvious. Any pain we have, if I pinch myself and it feels unpleasant, that is that kind of suffering. Second type of suffering, much more difficult to identify. So it is called the suffering of change. And actually what that is, suffering of change, is any pleasant sensation we experience, as long as we are, in that cyclic existence, in that samsara. Let's say, Gagan comes and brings us very delightful sweets from Jaipur. We experience this as incredible pleasure. But that pleasure, especially, if we like those sweets so much, we crave for more. That craving itself is a cause. We'll talk about attachment now. It's a cause to maintain us, in samsara. And as long as we are trapped in samsara, which is not other than our mind, as long as we are in that confusion that things are existing very solidly, then we don't have a choice, Whether Gagan all of a sudden gives us sweets or whether there is a power cut, we cannot control these things. It depends, on the karmas we have accumulated in the past and so forth. So that is actually the third type of suffering, the all-pervasive compounded suffering. Is just the condition that we are in, where we don't have control over what happens to us. And that lack of control is precisely, that misery of cyclic existence. So this is more or less what we talked about last time. Today we'll talk about attachment. And we could talk about, all the different kinds of disturbing emotions that we have. But yeah, here attachment was picked. And let us try and see what is attachment, and also how that emotion makes us suffer. Anybody would like to say? I will also give you online the possibility. Anybody would like to say for you what is attachment? Let me make it available online as well. Okay. Anybody would like to tell us, what do you understand by the word attachment? What does attachment mean to you? Online, you can simply unmute, and here, just raise your hand. What is attachment? You can say anything that goes on in your mind when you think of attachment.
Hey, hi, Rajit here.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, for me, attachment is to anything you can get addicted to and you don't feel like getting out of that, even if it's taking pillow while sleeping or with any person, and even with any thought you can't get rid of, and you keep a spiral thought around that, and how that gives suffering because that does not give you freedom to go out of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to share? What do you understand when you hear the word attachment? Or what do you think attachment is? What are your thoughts? I don't
Hi,
know. Yes,
hi,
please.
I'm Ishani.
Yes,
I'm,
please.
yeah, yeah. I feel attachment for a person is a little stronger than attachment for a thing. Um, and this attachment keeps growing, and then you just can't do without that person, or and you keep expecting more and more from that person. And be it your child, your friend. Uh, but at the end of it, each one is different, and this attachment, and you you expect something from that person, that that person needs to be think the way I am thinking.
Mhm.
Is that attachment, like if for my son or for my pet dog, or uh, maybe for some non-living thing
Mhm.
like books? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to say attachment is more like any lifestyle, discipline, any kind of thing that without which I cannot live peacefully. Like I am so attached to it that if it goes away, I will start suffering.
Mhm.
So it's a form of, it can be a thing, a person, it can be a lifestyle, it can be friend, anything that without which you cannot feel good. You depend on it for comfort. That is what
Mhm.
attachment is.
Kind of an addiction, no? Sagar, could you give her the mic?
Seems like resistance to change, suffering of change. That's how it resonates with me.
Mhm.
I think attachment can be both, can feel both positive and negative, can feel like love, but also can feel like anxiety in some cases or obsession. Uh, and we expect something out of that relating.
Mhm.
So there is a element of expectations also in attachment. It's not unconditional love for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very
Nicola,
much. Yes, Chavila.
it is an exaggeration of the qualities of an object, which makes our mind move towards it, which
Right.
pulls us towards it.
So this is the actual definition of attachment that the Nalanda masters and the teachers they give us. What Chavi just said, it is an exaggeration of the qualities, the good qualities of an object. When we say object, it can be any object. It can be a human, a pet, it can be food, it can be anything, that we feel pulled towards, or, we, we feel pushed or pulled towards that object. What is the word? Pull, no? It pulls us. Because we exaggerate the qualities, uh, you know, What example could I take? Okay, this one, this bowl here. So what do you all see here? Singing bowl. And is it something you feel attracted towards? Or is it just like a random object? Right? In my mind, I know that this bowl makes beautiful sound compared to many other bowls. Then, you know, I see it as beautiful. And because it's the bowl of Tushita, also, you know, there is some, like if that bowl were to disappear, that would be sad, you know. But you see just a bowl, right? So I'm superimposing things onto that bowl. It makes a beautiful sound, more beautiful than other singing bowls. It is Tushita's bowl, so it's special. But actually, there's just a singing bowl there. All these things I'm adding, no? I'm kind of projecting other things there. And this can go very far. I mean, this was a very simple example, but especially in our relationships, now we kind of add, especially at the beginning of a relationship, no? We add so many things onto that person that is not necessarily there, no? Or that person is like this, it's like inherently beautiful, you know? That person is inherently kind, that person is, you know, has that and that qualities that might not be there, but in our mind, we kind of add that, we kind of fantasize, we kind of project those things onto that person. So we don't apprehend the object of our attachment very realistically, no? Because we add all those things, all these layers that make us, what was the word you used, Chavi, that make us move towards that object, right? That's the word you used, Chavi?
Yes, which makes our mind move, or which pulls our mind towards the object.
Yeah. So that is the strict definition of attachment. Now, what does this cause is that, so what happens in our mind is that, first of all, we have the root of all our disturbing emotions. Attachment is one of them. And we say attachment, perhaps for lack of a better word in English, we could say, you know, we could call it like a desire, like a strong desire. What else could we use? Because perhaps if English is your mother tongue, then perhaps you have preconceptions of what attachment is, you know, or if you're working in IT, you could think about, you know, attachment to emails and things like that. So that's why it's important to look at the definition that Chavi gave, you know. Attachment is like a mental factor that exaggerates the qualities of an object and moves the mind, makes the mind move towards that object. Kind of wanting to interact with that object or wanting to possess that object and so forth, you know. So what happens is that before that, we have the misconception that we are born with in every life, that everything exists objectively, solidly. Especially we have a very strong sense of I, a very strong, solidly existing I there. And that I, we feel, is the center of the universe. Not only it's very solid and inherent, objectively, they're independent from other things, we feel that I is the center of the universe, that everything revolves around us. We feel that I is more important than others, so of course, we want to cherish that I. And so any objects that looks a little bit nice, we want to give it to that I, no? We want that I to possess that, to enjoy that. But so this can lead to, you know, this can lead to so many harmful, destructive actions, non-virtuous actions. These days, the example that I use is like the upcoming iPhone 17 Pro Max Plus, whatever, I don't know how it's going to be called. With, you know, what did he used to say, Steve Jobs? It's a revolution, no? Mm-hmm. So let's imagine it's an actual revolution, the next one. I don't know, I think the last few ones, they were all the same, no? But let's say the new one that comes, 17, is like a real revolution, like perhaps at the back you can, you know, you can take a selfie with the actual powerful camera that is there instead of the front camera or something, you know. AI whatever it is. So of course we want to give that iPhone to this I, we want to possess that. It looks, from its own side, it looks beautiful, and we feel that it will make us happy. If I were to possess that iPhone 17 Pro Max Plus whatever, I would be content finally, So that is what attachment thinks. That is what attachment misconceives, that this iPhone 17 Pro Max Plus will bring me satisfaction, finally. It will relieve me from the suffering of samsara. We have that kind of apprehension, no? But then what happens? The strong attachment is there, the strong desire to possess that new iPhone comes. Let's say it is released now in Saket. What is the name of Select City? There is an Apple store there, no? So we all want to possess, so we all go there. But there is already a queue, it's like, I don't know, let's say the shop opens at 9 and we go there at 8 and there's already a huge queue, people, they've been coming already the night before, they want to make sure, because the store only has 100 or 200 boxes with the phone, no? So many people, and there are like 300 people queuing and we just arrive. So now what to do? Attachment is still there, no? I still want to possess that, but now there are already 300 people in line. What to do? Should I sneakily, jump the line? Should I fight with someone to get a place in the line? Then, let's say I managed. Already I created the activity, the non-positive action, the negative action of skipping the line, jumping the queue, like deceiving people, no? Then somebody at the back will not have his iPhone because I will have, right? Already there is non-virtuous karma there that in the future will result in non-pleasant experiences. Then let's say I manage. The shopkeeper gives me an iPhone, but now I forget my wallet at home. But my attachment is still there. I want to have it today. If I don't take it today, then the store doesn't have for I don't know how many days. And I want to have it today. It's going to solve all my problems. It's going to make me so happy. I want to have it. So due to that strong, powerful desire, I might even, run away without paying. And the consequences, the karmic consequences of that are, even worse. So this is just an example of how that attachment, that exaggerated qualities of, it's just a phone, but sees it as inherently in the nature of happiness, can lead us to engage in many, many different actions that are non-virtuous, and inevitably they will ripen in the form of suffering, in the form of unpleasant experiences.
Sometimes attachment can also lead
Who has the mic? Can you give them?
actions. Sometimes attachment can also lead to virtuous action. So I'll give you an example. Recently there was this High Court or Supreme Court thing about the dogs, the stray dogs.
Yes.
And I used to feed some dogs, and someone told me that any day these dogs will be removed from the market and they'll be taken away. So there was a sense of attachment to feed them, and what if they get picked up, then I cannot feed them.
Yes.
And then obviously the court ordered that you cannot take them away like this. But I'm saying sometimes attachment can be a very positive bond with a sentient being, where you are wanting to do good to that being with nothing in return. I'm not getting anything in return except for happiness of feeding that dog. But sometimes I feel attachment can be a very positive thing if it leads to something that gives satisfaction to both the sentient beings.
Right.
So the dog and me, both,
So I think in this case, what Anjali was saying before, the difference, when we look at that's why we use the definition, because attachment, if English is our main language or the language we are born with, attachment is already associated with ideas that we have. But if we look at the definition of attachment, what we are describing is not actual exaggerating the qualities. And most of the people who, demonstrated against the Supreme Court, right? Why they demonstrated for several days, right? is, I think, more because of unconditional love. They don't want these dogs to suffer, right? They want these dogs to be happy. So it looks like it's the same emotion, but it's actually the opposite emotion. You know, attachment says, I want you to make me happy. Love is, I want you to be happy no matter what. Even if I'm not involved, I want you to be happy. So I think when in that case, it's more about love, no, which is more in touch with reality than attachment that exaggerates exaggerates qualities, superimposes qualities that are not necessarily there. Love is that feeling, that emotion that is in touch with reality. Like, I recognize you might be going through suffering. I don't want you to go through that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that attachment, even if we don't act upon it, even if we don't steal the iPhone or skip the line, already, let's say Apple, I don't even know if they announced it or not, but let's say they announce it tonight, and it's going to be on the market in 1 month. So already for 1 month, we can see that this attachment will disturb our mind, no? Because it's unrealistically thinking that iPhone will make me happy. So for 1 month, there is impatience there. I want to possess it, but I have to wait 1 month at least. And that disturbs our mind for 1 month. Because we have all these expectations, no? It's taking away our peace of mind. That is actually true for all the disturbing emotions, all the afflictions, delusions. They take away our peace of mind, our calmness, our peacefulness. What else can we say about attachment? Yeah, also, it's unrealistic in the sense that it will not bring us the happiness we are looking for, no? And probably when we come here, we already know that. We already know that all the objects out there in the market, they will not give us the everlasting contentment that we are seeking, no? The everlasting pleasure, happiness that we are looking for. Even if I were to possess that iPhone 17, I might break it, somebody might steal it, or it might stop functioning. Or even if none of that happens, after a few days, it will just become like a normal phone, I will not notice anymore that it's, that attachment will gradually
And then you
decline.
wait for the 18.
Sorry, and then you'll wait for the 18, yeah, exactly. So it's unrealistic to think that iPhone or any object will bring us satisfaction, an everlasting satisfaction, no. Inevitably, it will lead to dissatisfaction, disappointment, whatever happens. And of course, from attachment, because of attachment, we can have other afflictions. Let's say I'm one of the 201st persons in the queue and somebody tries to jump the queue. Then my attachment to the iPhone there might turn into anger, no, towards that person. And I might act upon that anger also with that person who is trying to jump the queue. It's like, no. I came here since last night. The shop is about to open. I'm in the queue. I might qualify to get one. So don't jump the queue. It's my iPhone, my pleasure, my happiness, not yours. You didn't queue, So that can lead to all sorts of actions, words that, will inevitably lead to suffering as well in the future. The karmic consequences of that. Of course, it's just an example. Attachment can lead to many other types of disturbing emotions, not only anger. Because of attachment, we might have jealousy. We might have pride. We might start being competitive. It can lead to sadness. When attachment doesn't get what it wants, when we cannot get what we want, some people, they get angry. Some people, they get very sad or depressed. Can lead to fear, to all sorts of, afflictions. Frustration, definitely, yeah. So then we talked about the negative karmas, the non-virtuous, bad karmas, it makes us engage in. And also here in my notes I have, it's an obstacle for us to concentrate. At the beginning we try to meditate for 5 minutes. But you know, if the iPhone 17 is available tomorrow morning and I have to sit here for 5 minutes looking at my breath, how boring, no? The breath compared to the iPhone 17 that is released tomorrow. Because of the attachment I have to that iPhone 17, I cannot remain on my breath. Not only that, but also an obstacle to even wisdom and other, you know, other minds that we can develop that are in touch with reality. So this is more or less what attachment is, and we'll be doing a meditation, an analytical meditation on that. But before we do, would you like to add anything, to discuss something else about attachment before we?
Sorry,
Yes,
can I?
please.
Is aversion like trying to avoid something also a form of attachment? Just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
I think it is rooted in attachment. I think aversion is not attachment as such, you know. Attachment moves the mind towards the object, wants to possess that object, wants to be near that object. Aversion is the opposite, no? Aversion wants that object to go away or us to be separated from that object, no? So it's more in the nature of, you know, anger, hatred, I would say. But that is rooted in attachment. Anger, hatred, aversion is the mind that comes when attachment, for most people, when attachment doesn't get what it wants, then anger, frustration, and so forth come about. Yeah. Yes.
So it leads to the same negative emotions like attachment.
It is another of the disturbing or negative emotions, yes. And disturbing emotions, very often they lead us to engage in non-virtuous actions. Yes. Anybody else? Sorry?
No, it's okay. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to
So
say something about
how,
attachment? Yes. Sorry.
Nicola, so how does attachment end up really hurting us? Because your topic is how attachment hurts. So I'm wondering, like, what is the entire process that goes on in while we are attached to something when we don't get it, or when it is lost from us?
When it is
Lost from us.
locked?
Lost.
Lost.
Yes.
Sorry, your sound is a little bit not so good, so that's why I'm having trouble hearing.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's the same, but it's okay.
Can you hear me better now?
It's the same, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, what is the process when we get attached to something or somebody? How does it really hurt us? Of course, we are pulled by that object. We don't want to be parted by that object, and we also don't want to lose it once we have it, or like not be in a position where we don't get it. But then what is the process that it actually leads us to a feeling, a sense of hurt? Like, why? I mean, if it is as simple as, oh, I'm exaggerating the properties of an object, then why can I not just, like, snap out of it and think like, oh, hey, I'm just exaggerating it. It's not really true. And then the hurt should stop, right?
Well, already, in the definition of a disturbing emotion, the definition of an affliction, already there is the aspect that whenever that is present, it is taking away our peace of mind. So already, just by its mere presence, by the mere presence of attachment, already it hurts us. We were talking about if iPhone 17 is coming only after 1 month, but it's announced today with all the beautiful keynote, and for 1 month I have this intense craving for it, that is already hurting me. But then how it hurts in the long term is, what we described. It will lead me to engage in non-virtuous actions that inevitably will ripen in the form of suffering in the future, that will ripen in the form of unpleasant experiences in the future. So this is how attachment hurts while it is there, but also in the future. It causes me to engage in non-virtuous actions, killing, stealing, hurting others, using harsh words, and so on and so forth. All these actions inevitably will ripen in the form of suffering, in the form of pain, misery. So this is how attachment hurts, and also keeps us, trapped in that endless, not endless, but in that cycle of rebirth, in that samsara. As long as, we are craving for samsaric pleasure, we want more and more samsaric pleasure, this distracts us from the exit, I have a teacher who used to describe this as describing samsara as like a septic tank. Everybody knows what a septic tank is. Instead of, going out of the septic tank, what we are doing is that we are putting nice posters on the walls, putting a little bit of perfume here and there, Yeah. Does that make sense, Shavila?
Yes, Nicola. That makes perfect sense.
Anybody else? Something about attachment? Otherwise, we can do the analytical meditation, and then we can talk a little bit more after the meditation. Oh, yes. Yes, please.
So just very briefly, I was reading that during World War II, there were Zen Buddhist masters who taught the soldiers to detach themselves, and that eventually allowed them to commit kamikaze, those suicide actions. What I wanted to say is, attachment is something that ties you down, doesn't allow you to liberate yourself. That deep craving that, okay, tomorrow if I don't have the money, if I don't have the food, I will suffer. But knowing that suffering is universal, that will probably help you remove these crutches that you have, which is attachment.
Thank you. Okay, let us do the analytical meditation. And for that, we can again, come back to our meditation posture, sitting comfortably with straight back, the body upright, coming back to the breath for a few seconds, inhaling and exhaling deeply, so that the stomach rises and falls when we inhale and exhale. On the inhale, we try to refresh our concentration, our attention. And on the exhale, we try to completely relax. Now, we will look into the nature of attachment. And we do this by contemplating how harmful that emotion actually is for our mind. Let us look how much attachment imprisons our mind. how it leads to harmful actions, how it makes us engage in harmful karmas. So we will try to have a more precise understanding of what attachment is by looking at it closely. Sometimes we might feel that if we don't have any attachment in our lives, then kind of nothing is there. There's nothing to enjoy. We might feel that a life without attachment is a boring or meaningless life, or a life without emotions, as if we were robots. But we mostly fail to see that contentment or non-attachment actually means to be able to be happy all the time without needing much. Contentment is actually a very interesting way of life, because with grasping, with attachment, with craving, we are always dissatisfied. As if we are only happy if this or that, or with him or with her. So attachment, in fact, it limits our capacity to be happy. It limits us from being genuinely happy, and limits our ability to love genuinely. Attachment interferes with our capacity to love. We can try to work with the thought that what we are attached to is actually our own karmic projection. Things appear to us in a certain way because of the karmas we have engaged in the past. It's very interesting actually that whatever we are attached to is kind of a projection from our own mind. It is not solidly inherently there at all. Let us try to look at this from our own experience. Let us take some time to check for ourselves what is the main source of our attachment. What is the main object of attachment that we have? For some people, it might be food. Some, it might be a partner. For some, it might be physical contact. Some people are attached to their reputation or their status. They want to be recognized. Let us see which one is our main source of attachment. Perhaps it can be a variety of different things, at different times. Take some time to see which one, what are you attached to the most? Now that you have identified the strongest, main source of your attachment, or different kinds of strong attachments that you have, let us attend to it closely and check what type of quality, what type of happiness are we really getting from that particular thing or that particular person. Let us look at this clearly. Check if you hold unrealistic expectations towards that object or person or anything you're attached to. Does my object of attachment really have all those good, attractive qualities that I'm seeing? Or is there some exaggeration involved from my side? This object of attachment, do you believe it will always make you happy? Do you believe that it is an everlasting source of happiness? Try to think of some ways that this object, person, or situation also can make you unhappy at times in different situations. then do you also have worry or anxiety about being potentially separated from that object of attachment? How do you react when you have to be separated from that object or person or situation? And then imagine being actually separated from that person or from that thing. Imagine being separated from your object of attachment, losing it. What is your emotion then? How is your attachment making you feel at that time? Then let us check, how does our attachment make us act? For example, sometimes do we disregard our ethical standards to get what our attachment wants? Do you sometimes become manipulative or even aggressive in order to get what you want? Let us check for some time in our life, in our past, in our present. Let us not put ourselves down, but just try to identify a state of mind that is actually poisonous, a state of mind that we want to give up, renounce. Why do I need this to be happy in my life? Look closely. Then to conclude, let us examine again what is the difference between love and attachment. Attachment says, I want to be happy. I want this, I want that. I want this thing or that person to make me happy. On the other hand, genuine love says, I want others to be happy. I want you to be happy. And if that involves me, fine, but if it doesn't involve me, it's also fine. let us generate a wish within ourselves that we can gradually transform that attachment into more virtuous thoughts, more in line with reality, such as love and compassion. Gradually moving away from a self-centered attitude to a mind that encompasses the happiness of others. We can again gently come out of the meditation. And if anybody would like to share something, anybody would like to express something, please feel free. We can take a few minutes to discuss a little bit more. Otherwise, we can dedicate whatever good thoughts or understanding that we develop in this session, as well as dedicating all the virtuous actions we have engaged in the past, all the virtuous actions we will engage in the future, so that we may soon, very soon, be liberated from all our disturbing emotions, such as attachment. But be liberated from all of them, from the root, the self-grasping ignorance, this misconception that things exist solidly. May we soon, very soon, be liberated from that and achieve the state of full awakening, the state of a Buddha, the state of omniscience, in order to guide all sentient beings to that state, without leaving even one single insect aside. Let us dedicate the precious minds we have already developed, such as the altruistic intention, taking responsibility to liberate others, bodhicitta, and the wisdom that realizes, the wisdom that sees the nature of reality, the emptiness of objective existence. May those minds that we have already developed, may they never decline, but may they increase more and more. Let us also dedicate for the long and healthy life of all our teachers, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May they live long and healthy so that we may continue to benefit from their teachings and from their guidance. Due to all the virtues, may the wars that are happening around the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new war, may there be no famine, may there be no epidemic, may there be no financial crisis, may there be no disasters of the elements, natural catastrophes, and may peace and happiness prevail in everybody's hearts and lives. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming and joining online. And we will see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. for the debate class online. And then, of course, our daily meditations also online, 9 a.m. And then next week, Monday and Tuesday, Kabir Saxena will be teaching here on a sutra that is about the deeds of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So that is Monday and Tuesday, 15 and 16 September, 6:30 p.m. here, as well as online. So most welcome to attend for that. Unfortunately, this week, yesterday we were supposed to host Venerable Geshe-Dorje Damrul. That had to be cancelled, but we will reschedule it in the coming weeks. We'll inform you as soon as we have a new date, as well as normally this Saturday also Venerable Geshe Zopa was supposed to come back, but due to the he was supposed to lead a pilgrimage in Himachal, but due to all the the rains, the heavy rains, and the roads that are blocked and so forth, now they are doing a pilgrimage in Nepal instead, in Sum Valley. So unfortunately, Geshe Zopa is not coming to Delhi. So this Saturday we don't have that event. No, our next events will be Monday, Tuesday with Kabirji. Most welcome for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.